Admiral James Stone stood at the massive window of Earth's orbital command center, his weathered hands clasped tightly behind his back. His gray eyes narrowed as he watched more alien ships appear through quantum gates, their sleek forms adding to the ever-growing ring around Earth. Each new arrival made his heart sink deeper. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council," reported Officer Mike Taylor, his voice tight with tension. Stone took a deep breath. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing the Grand Council chamber. 5 alien beings sat elevated on their ceremonial seats, looking down at the camera with what Stone could only interpret as smug satisfaction. The High Speaker, a tall being with silvery skin, raised his hand for silence. "People of Earth," the High Speaker's translated voice boomed through the command center. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding your species. Your unpredictable nature and rapidly advancing military capabilities have been deemed a threat to galactic peace." Stone's jaw clenched. Earth had done nothing wrong. They had followed every rule, signed every treaty, and even helped defend Council worlds from space pirates. This made no sense. Therefore, the High Speaker continued, "We hereby declare Earth under permanent quarantine. No ships will be permitted to enter or leave your solar system. Your colonies will be isolated. This is for the greater good of the galaxy." "This is outrageous." Stone stepped forward. "We demand to speak with our ambassador." A thin smile crossed the High Speaker's face. "Ambassador Reed and her team are already in protective custody. This decision is final." The screen went dark. Stone turned to his command staff, their faces pale with shock. "Get me the president. Now." But before they could act, warning signals blared across every console. Officer Taylor's fingers flew across his screens. "Sir, they're activating something." Massive energy readings from all Council ships. Brilliant beams of light connected the alien vessels, forming a glowing web around Earth. Within minutes, the planet was encased in a shimmering barrier of energy. "Analysis," Stone barked. "It's some kind of quantum barrier, sir," reported Dr. Helen Wright from her science station. "Our ships can't penetrate it. All communications except for basic signals are being blocked. They've effectively cut us off from everything beyond the moon." Stone watched helplessly as several Earth ships that had been returning home bounced off the barrier, their engines flaring as they tried to stabilize. On other screens, reports flooded in of similar barriers appearing around Earth's colonies on Mars and Europa. "Sir," Officer Taylor's voice cracked, "I'm picking up transmissions from our deep space outposts. Council forces are seizing our mining operations in the asteroid belt. They're stealing everything." That's when the truth hit Stone like a physical blow. This wasn't about safety or peace. This was a robbery on a planetary scale. Earth and its colonies had discovered unique mineral deposits that could revolutionize space travel. Now the Council wanted those resources for themselves. Stone turned to his senior staff. "Send an encoded burst transmission to any Earth ships still in deep space. Tell them to go dark and await further instructions. Then get me a secure line to military command. We're going to need every brilliant mind and every hidden resource we have." As his staff rushed to carry out his orders, Stone looked back at the barrier cutting Earth off from the stars. The Council thought they had contained humanity, locked them away like animals in a cage. They thought humans would accept this fate quietly. They were wrong. In the reflection of the window, Stone's expression hardened. He had seen that look before, in the eyes of countless soldiers throughout human history. It was the look of someone who had nothing left to lose. The Council had made a terrible mistake. They had united all of humanity against a common enemy, and they had given humans something they had always fought best for: justice. "You want to see how unpredictable humans can be?" Stone whispered to the barrier. "You're about to find out." The red emergency lights continued to pulse through the command center as humanity faced its darkest hour. But in that darkness, the seeds of revenge were already beginning to grow. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a bunker few knew existed, Earth's military leaders gathered around a massive table. The room was silent except for the soft hum of air filters and the occasional beep from communication devices. Admiral Stone stood at the head of the table, his uniform wrinkled from 3 days without rest. On the screens behind him, satellite images showed the Council's barrier still glowing around Earth like a cage of light. "Ladies and gentlemen," Stone began, "we've confirmed our worst fears. The Council's quarantine was never about safety. It was about theft." He pressed a button, and new images appeared on the screens. These pictures came from our deep space ships before they went dark. Council forces are stripping our outer colonies bare. General Robert Miller slammed his fist on the table. Those resources took us years to develop. The minerals from those asteroids were going to revolutionize our space program. "Exactly," a new voice said from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Dr. Thomas Miller walking in, carrying a heavy metal briefcase. His lab coat was stained with coffee, and his eyes were red from lack of sleep. "That's why they moved now. They know what we discovered." Stone nodded for him to continue. Dr. Miller placed his briefcase on the table and opened it. Inside was a small device that pulsed with a faint blue light. "For the past 5 years, my team has been working on something in secret. We used those special minerals to develop a weapon that could change everything." He pressed a button on the device. A hologram appeared above it, showing complex equations and designs. "We call it quantum disruption technology. It can shut down any energy field by scrambling its quantum structure. Shields, barriers, even their fancy quantum gates, none of them would work against this." The room erupted in excited whispers. Stone raised his hand for silence. "Why didn't we know about this before?" "Because," Dr. Miller smiled grimly, "I didn't trust the Council. They had too many spies. But now," he gestured at the device, "now we have something they don't know about. Something they can't defend against." A message flashed on one of the screens. Officer Taylor, who had followed Stone from the Orbital Command Center, quickly read it. "Sir, message from our Deep Space Forces. Captain Jane West reports that 3 of our stealth ships have successfully hidden in the asteroid belt. They're watching the Council strip our colonies." Stone's eyes lit up. "Can they transmit data back to us?" "Yes, sir. They've found a way to bounce signals through the quantum noise created by the barrier. It's slow, but it works." Dr. Miller picked up his device. "Give me 2 months. I can make enough of these to arm every ship we have left. But we'll need to be smart about this. The Council thinks they've locked us in a cage, but they've actually locked themselves out there with our angry deep space fleet." Stone turned to the assembled leaders. "This is what we're going to do. First, we let them think they've won. Let them believe we're defeated. Meanwhile, our hidden ships will gather intelligence. Dr. Miller will mass-produce his devices. We'll find every weakness, every corrupt deal, every dirty secret the Council has." General Miller nodded slowly. "And when we're ready?" "When we're ready," Stone's voice was cold with determination, "we'll show them why you should never corner a human. We'll hit them so hard and so fast, they won't know what happened until it's too late." The military leaders around the table straightened in their chairs. For the first time since the quarantine began, hope flickered in their eyes. "Send word to our hidden ships," Stone ordered. "Tell them to stay dark, but watch everything. Record every crime the Council commits. We're going to need evidence when this is over." He looked around the room. "The Council thinks humans are unpredictable. They haven't seen anything yet." As the meeting continued deep underground, the Council ships circled above, their crews confident in their barrier's strength. They never noticed the small probes Dr. Miller's team released into the quantum field, testing, measuring, preparing for the day when humanity would break free and show the galaxy why you should never, ever cage an entire planet. The seeds of resistance had been planted. Now they just needed time to grow. 3 months had passed since the quarantine began. On the surface, Earth appeared defeated. Cities still bustled, people went to work, and life seemed to continue as normal. The Council ships above maintained their barrier. their crews growing more relaxed with each quiet day. They should have known better. In an abandoned subway tunnel beneath New York, Dr. Miller walked between rows of gleaming ships. Each one was smaller than a regular space fighter, painted with a special coating that absorbed light. They were Earth's new stealth fleet, built in secret underground factories around the world. "How many are ready?" Admiral Stone asked, running his hand along one ship's smooth hull. 50 so far," Dr. Miller replied, checking his tablet. "Each one equipped with the quantum disruptors. My team managed to make them even more powerful than the prototype." He pointed to a small device mounted under each ship's wing. "One shot from these will tear a hole in any energy field the Council has." Stone nodded approvingly. "And our deep space forces." Captain West sent another encoded message. Officer Taylor said, emerging from the shadows, "Her ships have mapped every Council supply route, every hidden base. They've even identified which Council members are getting rich from stealing our resources." He handed Stone a datapad. "The corruption goes deeper than we thought, sir. Nearly half the Council is involved." "Perfect." Stone smiled grimly. "The more corrupt they are, the harder they'll fall." In another part of the tunnel, communications experts worked at stations filled with advanced equipment. They were using Dr. Miller's quantum technology to secretly contact Earth's allies among the alien races. Not every species supported the Council's actions. "Message from the Trading Guild, sir," one expert called out. "They're ready to help when the time comes. They've been smuggling supplies to our deep spaceships for weeks." Stone turned to Dr. Miller. "How are the special projects coming along?" The scientist led him to a heavily guarded section of the tunnel. Inside, teams of engineers were working on what looked like regular cargo containers. "These are our secret weapons," Dr. Miller explained. "They look like standard shipping crates, but they're actually packed with stealth technology and quantum disruptors. Our allies will help scatter them near key Council facilities. When we give the signal, they'll activate and take down the Council's defenses from the inside." Stone finished. "Brilliant." Above them, on the streets of New York, Council observers watched humans going about their daily lives. They saw people walking to work, children playing in parks, everything appearing normal. They never noticed how many maintenance crews were working underground, or how many power failures were actually cover for testing new weapons. In his private office in the underground base, Stone reviewed the latest intelligence from Captain West's ships. The Council was planning a huge celebration, marking 100 years since they had established their authority over the galaxy. Every important Council member would be there. "Sir," Officer Taylor entered with an urgent message. Ambassador Reed managed to get a coded transmission through. She and the other Earth diplomats are being held in the Council's main prison complex. They're being treated badly, but they're alive. Stone's jaw tightened. "Add that complex to our primary target list. When we move, we free our people first." He walked to a large screen showing a countdown clock. In just 2 weeks, the Council would hold their grand celebration. They would congratulate themselves on maintaining peace and order in the galaxy. They would probably even toast to their successful containment of the human problem. "Status report," he called out to his staff. "Stealth fleet at 90% readiness. Quantum disruptors all tested and charged. Deep space forces in position. Allied species standing by. Secret weapons planted near all major targets." Stone looked at the barrier visible through a small window above. Soon, very soon, the Council would learn what happened when you pushed humanity too far. They thought they had contained Earth's unpredictability. Instead, they had focused it, shaped it into a weapon aimed straight at them. In the darkness underground, humanity's revenge was almost ready. The silence before the storm was about to end. The Council's century celebration filled the massive space station with light and music. Hundreds of ships surrounded the station, their crews enjoying the festivities. The high speaker stood at the main viewport, watching the gathered delegates with satisfaction. Behind him, the station's defensive shields glowed softly, a reminder of the Council's power. No one noticed the small ripples in space around the station. No one saw the shadows that weren't quite shadows. Admiral Stone sat in the command chair of his stealth ship, watching the countdown on his screen. He pressed a button on his communicator. All units, final check. Deep Space Fleet ready. Captain West's voice came through clearly. Ground teams in position. Dr. Miller reported from Earth. Infiltration units standing by. Officer Taylor confirmed from his position near the prison complex. Stone took a deep breath. Begin Operation Breakout. Inside the celebration, the High Speaker raised his glass for a toast. To 100 years of Council rule. To peace and order in the galaxy. The lights went out. When they came back on 3 seconds later, 50 Earth stealth ships had appeared inside the station's defensive perimeter. Before anyone could react, they fired their quantum disruptors. The station's shields flickered and died. Impossible, the High Speaker shouted. No one can penetrate our defenses. You forgot something important. Stone's voice boomed through every speaker in the station. Humans don't like being caged. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out simultaneously. The hidden cargo containers near Council facilities burst open, releasing swarms of small drones armed with quantum disruptors. Council defense systems fell one after another. At the prison complex, Officer Taylor led a strike team through the now defenseless corridors. They found Ambassador Reed and the other Earth diplomats in the high security wing. Sorry we're late. Taylor smiled as he unlocked their cells. Traffic was terrible. Captain West's Deep Space Fleet emerged from hiding, striking hard at the Council ships that had been stripping Earth's colonies. Her ships were smaller, but with the quantum disruptors, size didn't matter anymore. Council vessels found their weapons and shields useless as Earth's forces reclaimed what was stolen. Back on Earth, Dr. Miller directed the final phase. His team activated a massive quantum disruptor array, carefully hidden during the months of preparation. The barrier around Earth flickered, stretched, and shattered like glass. Status report. Stone commanded as chaos erupted around the celebration station. Prison complex secured. Diplomats safe. Colonies retaken. Council forces retreating. Earth barrier destroyed. We're free. All primary targets neutralized. The High Speaker stared in shock as Earth ships surrounded the station. His guards' weapons had stopped working. The delegates who had been celebrating moments ago now huddled in fear. Admiral Stone's ship docked with the station. He walked onto the celebration deck, his boots clicking on the polished floor. Behind him, Ambassador Reed and the freed diplomats followed, their faces showing the hardship of their imprisonment. How? The High Speaker stammered. How did you do this? Stone smiled coldly. You said humans were unpredictable. You were right. While you watched us above ground, we built an army below. While you celebrated containing us, we studied your weaknesses. Every time you thought we were defeated, we were actually preparing. Ambassador Reed stepped forward. The Council is hereby dissolved. Evidence of your corruption has been broadcast to every world in the galaxy. Your theft of our resources, your illegal imprisonment of diplomats, everything. On screens throughout the station, images played showing Council ships stripping Earth's colonies. Documents revealed secret accounts filled with stolen wealth. The truth of the Council's corruption played across every communication channel in the galaxy. Your reign is over, Stone declared. Earth is free. And now the galaxy will know what happens when you try to cage humanity. The High Speaker slumped in his chair as more Earth ships appeared. The Council's power, built over a century, had been broken in a single day. Humanity's revenge had only begun. 1 week after Earth's strike against the Council, the galaxy was in chaos, but it was a different kind of chaos than anyone expected. In the former Council chamber, now under Earth's control, Ambassador Reed watched multiple screens showing news from across the galaxy. Each screen told the same story. The Council's corruption was deeper than anyone had imagined. Another Council member confessed. Officer Taylor reported, handing her a datapad. He claims the quarantine of Earth wasn't the first time they'd done this. 3 other species were targeted in the past century. How many have come forward to support us? Admiral Stone asked, studying the galactic map covered with glowing points of light. 17 species so far, Reed replied. All of them victims of Council manipulation. Some lost resources, others were forced to pay protection money. The Council kept them quiet with threats. Dr. Miller entered the chamber, his tablet displaying new data. The quantum technology is spreading faster than we expected. Our allies are already building their own disruptors. The Council's remaining ships can't enforce their will anymore. No one fears their weapons now. On the main screen, they watched as Captain West's fleet liberated another Earth colony. The Council ships guarding it surrendered without a fight. They had learned quickly that resistance was pointless against the quantum disruptors. Message from the Trading Guild, Taylor announced. They've traced the stolen resources. The Council leaders were hoarding everything in secret bases throughout the galaxy. The Guild is helping us reclaim it all. Stone nodded with satisfaction. And the corrupt Council members? Running scared, Reed smiled grimly. Without their defensive technology, without their stolen wealth, without their web of lies, they're nothing. Their own people are turning them in. A new alert flashed across the screens. The Mineral Worlds, a group of planets that had always supported the Council, were asking to negotiate with Earth. They had discovered evidence that the Council had been secretly stealing their resources too. It's happening exactly as we planned, Stone said, watching more systems declare their independence from Council control. They built their power on fear and lies. Once we exposed the truth, everything fell apart, Miller finished. The quantum disruptors didn't just break their shields. They broke their whole system of control. Ambassador Reed turned to face her colleagues. We've received requests from 30 different worlds. They want Earth to help establish a new galactic government, one based on truth and justice, not corruption and force. And the remaining Council loyalists? Taylor asked. Stone pointed to the map, where Captain West's fleet was systematically working through former Council space. They're running out of places to hide. The same technology they feared from us is now being used by everyone they ever wronged. Their own security forces are surrendering rather than fight for corrupt leaders. In the depths of space, more Council secrets came to light. Hidden prisons were discovered and opened. Stolen wealth was reclaimed and returned. Species that had been forced into silence for decades finally spoke out. We need to be careful, Reed warned. We don't want to become what we destroyed. Agreed. Stone nodded. That's why we're sharing the quantum technology with everyone, not keeping it for ourselves. That's why we're inviting all species to help build what comes next. On Earth, humans celebrated their freedom. The barrier was gone. The colonies were safe, and their place in the galaxy was secure. But more importantly, they had sparked something greater than revenge. They had started a revolution of truth. Dr. Miller looked up from his tablet. Sir, the first meeting of the new Galactic Assembly is ready to begin. Representatives from 50 species are waiting. Stone straightened his uniform. Then let's not keep them waiting. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity can build just as well as we can fight. As they walked toward the assembly hall, the screens behind them showed more Council secrets being exposed, more worlds joining the revolution, more corrupt leaders facing justice. The Council's carefully built web of lies was unraveling thread by thread, and in its place, something new and better was beginning to grow. The revenge was complete. The rebuilding could begin. 2 weeks after Earth's revolution began, the last Council stronghold erupted in panic. The massive space station, once a symbol of Council authority, now became a battlefield, but not against Earth's forces. They're fighting each other, Officer Taylor reported, watching the scene through their stealth ship's sensors. Council ships fired at former allies, each faction trying to escape with whatever power they had left. Admiral Stone stood on his command deck, arms crossed. How many Council members are still inside? 5 of the most corrupt ones, Ambassador Reed answered, checking her datapad. They're the ones who started the whole plan to quarantine Earth. Now their own guards are turning against them. On the main screen, they watched as Council security forces split into different groups. Some protected their former masters, others tried to arrest them. In the confusion, alarms blared through the station. Warning, a computerized voice echoed. Station core destabilizing. Critical failure imminent. Dr. Miller's voice came through the communicator. They're trying to destroy their records. The council leaders would rather blow up their own station than let their secrets be found. Not on my watch, Stone growled. He turned to his crew. Launch the recovery teams. Now. Earth's stealth ships declocked around the station. Teams of specialists, equipped with quantum disruptors, cut their way inside. They moved through the chaos, heading straight for the station's data core. 10 minutes until core collapse, the station computer announced. Inside the station, council members fought to reach escape pods. Some carried stolen data drives, others clutched boxes of valuable items. None of them noticed the Earth teams slipping through the shadows. Data core located, Taylor reported. Dr. Miller's team is starting the download. But sir, you need to see this. The screen showed new files appearing as they were copied. Lists of crimes spanning centuries. Secret orders for attacks on peaceful worlds. Deals with space pirates. The corruption went deeper than anyone had imagined. 5 minutes until core collapse. Downloads at 60%, Miller reported. We're finding records of every crime they ever committed, every species they ever wronged, every credit they ever stole. Ambassador Reed's eyes widened as she read the incoming data. There are worlds we've never heard of, entire civilizations they kept hidden from the galaxy, all to protect their power. 3 minutes until core collapse. Stone watched as more council ships turned on each other. They're breaking all their own rules now, fighting in their own station, destroying their own history. Downloads at 90%, Miller announced. Almost there. 1 minute until core collapse. The last Earth teams pulled out of the station, carrying the downloaded records. Behind them, council members fought their way into escape pods, abandoning their own guards to their fate. Downloads complete. All teams clear. 30 seconds until core collapse. Stone's fleet moved away from the station. On their screens, they counted escape pods launching. Each one carried council members who, just weeks ago, had thought themselves untouchable. 10 seconds. 9. 8. All Earth ships accounted for, Taylor reported, ready to block escape routes. 3, 2, 1. The station exploded in a massive burst of light, but Earth's ships were ready. As escape pods tried to flee in different directions, they found themselves caught in carefully planned blockades. Round them up, Stone ordered. Every last one. Hours later, in a secure holding area, the captured council members sat in cells much like the ones they had used for Earth's diplomats. Ambassador Reed walked past them, reading their crimes from a datapad. The difference between us, she told them, is that you'll get fair trials, something you never gave your victims. Stone watched from a viewing room as more ships arrived carrying representatives from worlds the council had wronged. Each species would have a chance to see justice done. Send word to Earth, he ordered. Tell them the council's rule is officially over. Now the real work begins. The council had tried to break humanity's spirit. Instead, they had broken themselves against humanity's strength. 1 month after the council's fall, representatives from 100 worlds gathered in the newly built Galactic Assembly on Earth. The Grand Hall, constructed in record time beneath the Rocky Mountains, buzzed with excited conversation in dozens of languages. Admiral Stone stood at a window overlooking the assembly floor. Below, aliens of all shapes and sizes sat together. Former enemies now united in building something new. He smiled as he spotted Ambassador Reed moving among them, greeting each species in their own language. Final report from the trial courts, Officer Taylor said, approaching with a datapad. The last council leaders have been sentenced. Their stolen wealth has been returned to its rightful owners. And their technology? Stone asked. Dr. Miller is teaching everyone how to build quantum disruptors, Taylor replied. Just like we promised. No more secrets, no more special advantages. On the assembly floor, Reed called for attention. The room fell silent as she stepped onto the central platform. Behind her, a massive screen showed a new map of the galaxy, with Earth clearly marked at its heart. 1 month ago, she began, her voice carrying to every corner, we gathered here as victims of corruption. Today, we meet as architects of a new future. Stone watched as Captain West entered the hall with her Deep Space Fleet commanders. They had just returned from dismantling the last Council military base. The captain gave him a thumbs up. Their work was finally done. The Earth Charter, Reed continued, as the text appeared on screens around the hall, guarantees that no species will ever again face what we faced. No more secret quarantines, no more stolen resources, no more hidden prisons. Dr. Miller stood at his station, monitoring the new defensive network. Quantum detection grids now surrounded every world that had joined the assembly, protecting them from any who might try to follow in the Council's footsteps. Each world remains free, Reed explained. Each species governs itself. But together, we watch for corruption. Together, we protect the weak. Together, we explore the stars. The assembly members nodded in approval. Many of them had fought each other under Council rule. Now they shared technology, traded fairly, helped rebuild worlds the Council had damaged. Earth doesn't seek to rule, Stone added, stepping onto the platform. We only ask to help lead, to use what we've learned about resistance, about justice, about staying strong in the darkest times. A cheer went up from the gathered species. They had seen Earth's strength firsthand, not just in fighting, but in fairness. Every credit recovered from the Council had been returned. Every world offered the same technology. Every voice given the same weight in building the new system. The galaxy is changing, Reed continued. The Council thought humanity was unpredictable, dangerous. They were right, but not in the way they feared. We are unpredictable in how we solve problems. Dangerous only to those who would hurt others. On screens throughout the assembly, images showed the progress already made. New trade routes established. Former Council worlds rebuilding under new leadership. Species once forbidden to meet now working together on joint projects. Let this be recorded, Reed declared, as the day the galaxy truly united. Not under force or fear, but under justice and truth. The assembly erupted in applause. Stone watched as former enemies shook hands, signed treaties, made plans for joint ventures in space. This was humanity's real victory, not just defeating the Council, but building something better from its ruins. Message from Earth's president, Taylor whispered, handing Stone another report. They voted to make this complex the permanent home of the Galactic Assembly. Stone nodded with satisfaction. Earth had been caged, but had broken free. Had been wronged, but chose justice over revenge. Had been called unpredictable, and proved it by bringing peace instead of war. As the new Galactic Charter was signed by each world's representative, Stone thought of how it had all started, with the Council's attempt to quarantine one single planet. They should have known better than to try to cage humanity. Now they would never forget. The end.